Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the survivorship curves of males versus females before 1920 at Kennerly Cemetery in Little Rock, Arkansas.
The data we collected is a sample size of 208 individuals in total from the Kennerly Cemetery in Pulaski County, Arkansas. All of these individuals were born before 1920.
Originally, we wanted to find the survival rates for males during World War I and World War II, but as we were collecting data, we found that this was pretty interesting in itself, and it might be a little bit easier for us to process.
So presenting all the data we collected, it is a sample size of 208 individuals from Kennerly Cemetery in Pulaski County, Arkansas.
All individuals were born before 1920, and the ages of death range from 0 to 100 years old.
Yeah, I've noticed there were very few. Well, I don't want to spoil it for you. The data we collected is divided up into 5-year increments, going from age 0 to age 100.
And we did that to streamline how the data was processed.
Here is a chart of all the data I collected. I split it up 3 times. One separating the age of death for men born before 1920. Another is age of death for women born before 1920. And then the third chart is the age of death for all the total individuals. As I said, there were 218, and I scaled all these numbers up to 1,000, to out of 1,000. So it says 109 individuals, but out of 1,000, let's say the age 5 was scaled up to 752, and so on and so forth, all the way from 1,000 to 0. And this is age 0, there were 109. By age 5, 27 of those had died, so there were 82 left. And out of 1,000 individuals, that would have been 752. And then by the time we get to age 20, in men, there's not really a whole lot of die-off. And then it starts again at 25 with 3 individuals. We have a spike at 6 individuals at 45. It's back down. And then at 75, we have 75 and 80, we have 2 huge spikes, and then all the way down to 0. Same with women. Age of death of women before 1920 is the same thing. 27 died before the age of 5. And then you have really low numbers going down, with the first real spikes happening at 65 with 6 deaths, and then a large die-off, or the second largest die-off is 12 at 85.
That raises a lot of questions for me anyway. Like, the biggest spike we see is before the age of 5, and then the next closest one is later on in life.
Yeah, and for women it's a lot lower. Do you know why?
Why?
Because women don't do dumb stuff.
True.
And then total individuals, we start seeing a huge, same thing, huge die-off before age 5, and then it's really slow and steady. As soon as we get to around 70, we start dropping in 20 individual increments. This is just a small breakdown of the data for the total number of individuals, and we see a type 1 survivorship curve. So here we have kind of a small breakdown of the total number of individuals, all scaled up to 1,000, with 208 individuals, and it's exhibiting a type 1 survivorship curve. And as you can see, at 1,000, it drops down dramatically down to below 800, and then it starts to slowly curve until we have a pretty rapid change in the curve at age 60, and then it starts to like kind of level out until it's completely over. That's a type 1 survivorship curve. And there's a high infant mortality rate, which I'm not sure if it's just like a coincidence with the data we collected, or if there was actually something to do with the individuals born before 1920.
So this graph is compiled of our data that we found for males born before 1920 that are buried at this cemetery. The sample size of this in particular consisted of 119 individuals, and the ages ranged from 0 to 100 years old. And this also exhibits a type 1 curve.
And as you can see, these males, they die off younger than compared to altogether.
Mm-hmm.
They die off younger because, you know, they're going off to war. Women weren't really allowed to work at this time, so they're not dying at job sites. And here we see a much more spread out curve with females born before 1920 buried at Kennerly Cemetery. And this is a sample size of 99, so it's a little bit smaller sample size.
But I feel like the type of graph we were seeing set up, though, I feel like a sample size of 99 was fair enough.
Yeah, I don't feel like we'll get much change in this curve. And I noticed throughout the data that most women started to die at the age of around 70, 75, and they tended to survive longer, and they tended to survive into their adolescent and young adult ages. And
they've seen a little more stability than men.
There was a little more stability. And this also exhibits a type 1 curve. Generally, humans are going to exhibit a type 1 curve, especially in the United States. Say we did somewhere else, like a different country, it might look different, but generally in the United States, it's going to be a type 1 curve as opposed to a type 2 or a type 3.
Why do you think that is?
Because there's more modern medicine here. I don't want to get political at all, but yeah.
No, we're here. We're here.
No, I ain't getting political. But yeah, just access to fundamentals that people don't have in other parts of the world. So all in all, this was a very interesting project.
It really was.
I had to say I did not enjoy writing down
painstakingly
finding
the
writing
ages.
down all that data because I hand wrote it all.
This sparks a lot of questions with me too.
Where do you want to be in the video? Yeah, you could be in the video, Papa.
This actually sparked a lot of questions with me, this exercise, which I think it was intended to do. I'm curious to how these survivorship curves compare to modern day or even different periods within like the 50s, early 2000s, and now. And also, I'm curious of how it stacks up to different parts of the world.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to why there was a high infant mortality rate among the individuals that I saw. And I wonder if that's due to back then that there was a lack of modern medicine, disease. I mean, I think polio was still going around. This was around the time of the Spanish flu. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
Thanks for sticking around, guys. This was very informative, very educational for us. We hope you were able to learn something.